My beloved child, there are things unfolding in the unseen realm each day that you do not perceive. There are quiet movements in the heavens reshaping this entire world. And in this mysterious hour, I desire you to listen, for this is a special invitation meant only for you. Your hands have grown too heavy with the worries and distractions of the world, leaving no room for the graces I long to give you. You keep walking, yet your eyes grow dim beneath the noise and falsehoods that cover you, making you think you are strong when in truth you are wearing down. I see you, and I know the moment has come for truth to be unveiled. The secret long waiting for you will no longer remain hidden. From the beginning I have sent angels to sustain you. They are not here to sow fear, but to patiently whisper, stirring your heart in moments you thought were fleeting thoughts. Yet many times burdened with so many cares, you missed that gentle call. Now the time of turning has arrived, and you can no longer delay. The change descending is unlike any wind you have ever felt. It is not loud, yet strong enough to shake even the roots that cling stubbornly deep. This world will continue to be shaken, and those who cling to what is fragile will tremble. But I call you to stand firm upon my foundation, for there nothing can be moved. You have asked me many times, is this the voice of the Father or only my own thoughts? Now I answer, it is truly I who speak to you. And so that you may enter into this change, I send 3 angels, each bearing an eternal gift, not of silver, gold, or power, but treasures from my very heart, able to transform you from within. First, open your heart to receive clarity. It is like the dawn piercing through the fog, guiding you to see the true path. Next, I give you strength not from your own small abilities, but from my infinite power, a strength that will lift you when you think you cannot stand. And then you will feel peace, not the fragile peace the world so easily loses, but a deep stillness anchoring you amidst the storm. These are not only gifts, but provisions I have prepared for you on this new journey. My beloved child, so often I have seen you run after the noise of this life, forgetting to hear the whisper of the soul. Your eyes have grown dim, veiled by meaningless images, your ears heavy with gossip and clamor, your heart hardened against truth. You do not realize that these burdens have filled your hands, leaving no room for the gifts I have long prepared. Instead of clarity, you are lost in confusion. Instead of strength, you are dragged down by weariness. Instead of peace, you are left with unrest. You live in the light, yet as if in darkness. I know you often wonder why the path seems unclear, why each decision entangles you further. The reason is not that I am silent, but that you do not pause to listen. My clarity is like the morning sun. If only you would open your eyes, you would see. Yet you remain shut within a darkened room, curtains drawn, imprisoning yourself in night. You forget that darkness is never stronger than light. Even the smallest flame can drive it back. But if you cling to the night, the light cannot enter. It is your stubbornness and unawareness that blind the eyes of your soul. Let me tell you a story few recall. Long ago, when the prophet Elisha and his servant were surrounded by enemies, the servant trembled at the sight of armies filling the hills. But Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And when his eyes were opened, he beheld the fiery hosts of heaven, encircling them, far greater than the forces of men. My child, what hinders you is not my absence, but your unopened eyes. Clarity is the key to perceive the unseen reality beyond appearances. Without it, you will tremble like that servant before his eyes were opened. I do not condemn you for weakness, for I know the frailty of flesh. But I call you to release illusions, that your hands may be free to receive clarity. When you see, you will cease chasing vanity. When you understand, you will no longer throw yourself into endless cycles. I want you to live with bright eyes, an open heart, and a discerning mind, so that no enemy may deceive you again. Then comes the time to receive the second gift, strength. You have stumbled many times, thinking all depends on your own ability. You tried with reason, with willpower, and despaired when you lacked enough. But hear me, true strength does not begin in you, but in me. When you are weary, lean on me. When you are weak, let me lift you. The strength I give is not like the muscle of a soldier, but like a hidden stream that carves through stone, unstoppable and enduring. If you dare to lay your burden down, you will find your shoulders upheld by my arms. Remember, I once used a frail boy David to strike down the giant Goliath. It was not the stone's power, but my presence behind it. Likewise, the giants in your life, fear, doubt, pressure, cannot defeat you if you let me fight on your behalf. Step forward in faith, and my strength will do the rest. And when you feel that power, you will know you are never alone in battle. I also desire you to receive the gift of peace. You have searched for it in pleasures, relationships, fleeting achievements, but they only gave momentary silence before dissolving into emptiness. True peace comes only from me. It is calm, standing firm in the storm, a shield against trembling, though the world may shake. It is not the fragile, quiet men trade with one another, but the steadfast foundation born of my heart. Sit with me, and every chaos will fade like the sea falling still after the tempest. My child, these three gifts are not things outside of you. They are life I long to plant within you. But you can only receive when you let go. Empty hands can be filled. A humbled heart can rise. A mind that releases the old can welcome new light. I urge you, open yourself, for this moment will not come again. And when you truly hold clarity, strength, and peace, you will see the difference. You will hear more clearly the calls that have always sounded from me. You will recognize the whispers of angels once thought to be mere chants. Then you will understand that these gifts are not only for you, but to prepare you for a greater journey where listening and walking are essential. For what I give is not merely gifts, but a summons to lead you further. I know how often I have whispered to you, but you mistook my voice for your own restless thoughts. You were too busy to notice the gentle knock upon your soul. Amid conversations and clamor, amid endless reports and noise, my voice grew faint in your perception. But know this, I do not come in thunder or raging fire, but in the soft breeze and the stillness only the watchful discern. If your heart is always full, you will hear everything but me. You have wondered why your spiritual life feels dry. The cause is not my distance, but that you allowed the world to fill the space meant for me. Noise has surrounded you, making you think silence is emptiness. Yet silence is my favorite language to teach you. Because you will not be still, you miss it. Awakening is not just opening your eyes, but opening your heart to realize my presence in every ordinary moment. Remember young Samuel. He heard the call 3 times in the night, thinking it was his master calling. Only when instructed. If you hear again, say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," did he recognize it was my voice. My child, how many times have I called you the same way, yet you ran after others, after other thoughts, not knowing it was me? Still I remain patient, longing for the day you answer with your whole heart. Awakening means daring to stop amid the rush and ask, whose voice am I hearing? If it is the world's, you will be led into turmoil. If it is only your own, you may be misled by illusions. But if you listen to me, you will be led into life. I do not call to frighten you, but to give you purpose. When you recognize my voice, confusion will vanish, and you will know you do not live in vain. Awakening also means discerning the traces I leave in every event. A seemingly random meeting, an unexpected encouragement, a door suddenly opening. These are all ways I speak to you. If you see only with natural eyes, you will call it coincidence. But if awakened, you will perceive the unseen thread I weave into your story. In every detail, you will hear me clearer than ever. Too often, fear clouds your hearing. You fear that following me will cost you the familiar. You fear that listening will take you to places unknown. But my child, I never call to harm you. My call always comes with preparation. I know your fears, and so I send angels beside you that you will not walk alone. If only you have the courage to listen, you will discover my call is not a burden, but the invitation to fullness of life. Remember, the hour of awakening cannot be delayed forever. My current is sweeping away what is old, and those still asleep will be left behind in shadows. I do not want you to belong to that darkness. I call you to be light in this world, but light cannot shine through one who sleeps. You must awaken, open your eyes, and recognize the truth that has always stood before you. When you learn to hear me, you will understand that not every voice is the same. Some dazzling invitations lead only to ruin. Some sweet urgings set traps for destruction. Only my call brings life. That is why I plead with you not to delay. Awaken today, not tomorrow, for tomorrow may no longer be yours. And when you truly hear me, when your ears grow attuned to the rhythm of heaven, faith will take root firmly in your heart. My voice will become the hidden melody beneath your every step, guarding you from losing your way. Then you will be ready to face change, knowing you do not walk alone but follow the guiding call. And from that awakening, you will be prepared for even greater transformations as I open doors you never imagined. My beloved child, I see you tremble when the word change is spoken. I understand, for it feels to you as though the ground beneath your feet is splitting apart, as though all that is familiar is being swept away. You fear losing your foothold, losing the things you once clung to, even though many of them were but old burdens. Yet remember this, your true foundation does not lie in what shifts and fades, but in me. I have never wavered, and my love for you has never once faltered. There are things I long to remove, not to rob you, but to clear the way for what is new. Just as the farmer must break the hardened soil so that seeds may sprout in the next season, I too am breaking open your heart. The earth is overturned, the weeds pulled up. At first glance, it seems painful and desolate, yet it is the only way for new life to rise. If you hold fast to what is already dead, you will never see tender shoots breaking through. Change is not always gentle, but it is always meant for healing. Let me tell you a story that is often overlooked. When the people of Israel were exiled in Babylon, they thought everything was over. The temple was destroyed, their homeland lost, their pride shattered. Yet in the very place of exile, I gave my promise of a new covenant, of a future and a hope. They believed all had ended, but in truth it was the beginning of a new chapter, one in which I taught them to find my presence not only in a temple of stone, but in the very faithfulness of their hearts. Change may look like loss, but in truth it is the road to rebirth. You have grown accustomed to old habits and familiar structures, and so when I call you to step forward, you hesitate. You fear entering the unknown because there you have no control. Yet, my child, it is that very need for control which has bound you all this time. If you dare to let go, you will find my hand holding you, leading you. Courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means stepping forward while still trembling, because you know I go before you, preparing the way. Look at those I once called. Abraham left his homeland for a place he had never seen. Moses stood before mighty Pharaoh, though he felt unworthy. The disciples abandoned their nets to follow a man the world despised. None of them were perfectly ready, but they walked, and as they walked, the way opened. So it is with you. You will never see miracles if you remain still. Change is the only bridge that carries you from fear into freedom. I know you grieve. You look at doors that close and believe you have lost. But you do not see that it was my own hand that shut them, to keep you from straying, to guide you into a new path. Leave the past behind, for the future I have prepared is waiting ahead. Like a seed that cannot rise unless it first falls into the earth, so too must you endure the hidden season in order to bloom. Change is the soil I use to teach you to grow, so do not let fear imprison you. I have not called you only to abandon you in a desert. I have called you to lead you into blessing. Change does not destroy you, it sets you free. Do not stare only at what is crumbling, look at what is being built. Do not cling to the night, for dawn is breaking. All it takes is one step in faith, and you will see the heavens open before you. I know the very word trial makes your heart tremble. You long to walk in safety and ease, but you do not realize that ease makes the soul weak and heavy. No true transformation comes without shaking. Remember, the wilderness always lies between Egypt and the Promised Land. If you try to bypass it, you will never grasp the value of true freedom. It was in thirst and hunger that my people learned their only source of life was in me and nowhere else. You often think I allow hardship to make you suffer, but trials are the furnace where faith is refined. Just as gold cannot be purified without fire, so too must your soul be tempered. Cracks, collisions, tears, all these are not to destroy you, but to strip away the fragile shell and reveal the hidden strength only I have seen. Without adversity, you would cling forever to what is shallow. Trials are my reminder that you were made for something greater. Remember the story of my prophet Daniel. When he was cast into the lion's den, he saw no escape. That night all believed his life had ended. Yet I sent my angel to shut the lions' mouths, turning the place of death into a testimony of my power. Without the trial, how would anyone have known I am the keeper? Without danger, how could my presence be revealed? In the same way, the trials of your life are the stage where miracles appear. You often complain at obstacles, not realizing that they magnify the worth of what I give. If you lived only in ease, you would despise the wisdom, strength, and peace I have placed within you. But when storms arise, you see how light guides, how strength lifts, and how peace holds you firm. Trials do not come to rob you of gifts, but to awaken you to their true value. If you dare to believe, you will see trials not as enemies, but as faithful teachers. My beloved, I do not promise you a smooth path. I only promise to walk with you at every step. When you weep, I count each tear. When you fall, I extend my hand to raise you. When you lose your way, I shine a light to guide you. No trial is greater than my presence, and in your darkest nights you will feel me closer than ever. Do not think yourself abandoned. You are being trained to grow. Trials are also the sign that transformation has begun. The world will resist what I am building. The enemy will seek to plant fear, division, and doubt. But do not tremble if the darkness rages. It is because light is breaking forth. Opposition is not a mark of failure. It is proof that I am at work. When you grasp this, you will no longer see trials with fearful eyes, but with eyes of trust. So learn to stand firm amid trials. See them as stepping stones toward strength, not as walls blocking your way. You will find that the more you face them, the stronger you become. The more you endure, the clearer the truth becomes. No pressure can crush you if you place yourself in my hands. Trials will become witnesses, and your life a living proclamation that I am the one who never forsakes. O child, after all I have said, understand this. This transformation is not only humanity's story, it is intimately yours. I have placed within you a spark, small and easily overlooked, but in my hands it can become a great flame. You were not born by chance, nor are you here merely to exist. You were chosen for such a time as this. This world needs the light within you, whether you recognize it yet or not. I have not called you to keep wisdom, strength, and peace only for yourself. These gifts are not treasures to hoard, but seeds to be sown. If you hold them back, they wither, but when you share them, they multiply. Your calling is to carry my presence wherever you go, to shift the atmosphere, to make the darkness recede. You are the lamp I have lit, not to be hidden under a table, but to shine and fill the room. Remember Esther, a young Jewish girl, unknown and powerless. Yet I placed her in the palace, and at the right time she stood before the king and spoke courageously to save her people. Had she remained silent, they may have perished. But she recognized, perhaps I was placed here for such a moment as this. So it is with you. Where you live, where you work, the relationships you hold, none of it is random. I have a purpose for you there. My beloved, your responsibility is not to bear the weight of the world, but to be faithful with what I have given. Be a light where you stand. Speak truth where you are. Lift up weary hearts around you. I do not demand perfection, only willingness. When you say yes, I will use you far beyond what you imagine. Do not underestimate the power of a heart that obeys. In my hands, it can shape a generation. And do not forget, this calling is never carried alone. As I send angels to surround you, I also place brothers and sisters beside you. Light shines not in a single flame, but when many flames join together. As you unite with others in my love, you will see a river flow wide, breaking through walls of division. This is how I am weaving your life into something greater than itself. Rise, my child. Step into the role I have entrusted to you. Do not fix your eyes only on what is falling apart, but become part of what is being built. Do not wait for another to take your place, for you are my chosen instrument. Every trial you have endured was not meant to crush you, but to prepare you for this very hour. This is your moment, and I am with you. Take hold of your calling, and your life will merge into the greater story I am writing for the world. pause now and hear me in a softer voice, gentle yet firm around you, are beings unseen, guardians more present than you realize. They are messengers I have appointed to walk with you through shadowed paths you cannot cross alone. They do not come to frighten you nor to add burdens, but to make you stronger, to place supports beneath you. When you falter, to arrange encounters that seem accidental, yet are divinely timed to soften wounds before they cut too deep to steer you from roads that would destroy. How many times have you felt a quiet whisper within a thought not born of reason, an urging to move forward or to step back? These are traces of my hidden care. Do not dismiss such coincidences as meaningless chance, for often they are the ways I lead you unseen. Within you I have planted a seed unique and quiet, easily missed if you look only with earthly eyes. It may appear as a fleeting inspiration, a bold desire too great for your strength, an idea that unsettles you because it seems beyond your reach. Yet it is precisely such small beginnings that hold power to transform. I have placed within you an inner gift, a longing to bring beauty to the world, a power to heal through words, a vision that sees people through the heart rather than appearances. These dreams are not born of pride or selfish ambition. They are signs of the calling I inscribed in your being before you were born. When something returns again and again to your spirit, it may be my knocking on the door of your soul, reminding you of the mission given. Do not dismiss it simply because it does not yield instant results. Many times I begin change with a thought that seems small, and you must be the one to cradle that spark until it becomes flame. You may see yourself as weak when faced with trials, feeling stretched between daily duties and deep longings. But know this, that tension is not a mark of failure, but proof of a greater work unfolding within you, the shaping of desire into enduring strength. Just as a blacksmith must stoke the fire and strike the metal again and again to forge a sharp blade, so too must your spirit endure seasons of trial to grow resilient. Each time you resist a temptation, I have given you strength to overcome. Each time you speak truth, though it risks misunderstanding, each time you silence the urge to exalt yourself and instead choose another's good, you are being hammered into the likeness of a warrior. Not one who wields a sword of steel, but one who guards the inner life, who discerns truth, who cannot be deceived. You may wonder, why must I endure such pain? Why do I allow the enemy to strike at you? I do not take pleasure in the tears of your soul, but I see the greater picture. Those very flaws are the places where I work, the openings where I offer, chances to repair, to realign, and to build a new foundation. There are things that can only be dealt with through experience, not merely learned from books. There are lessons that only penetrate to the marrow when you feel the pain and then place your hand upon it with me to bring healing. And it is in those moments that seem most hopeless that I am engraving eternal values within you: patience, compassion, forgiveness, and a faith that cannot be shaken. These qualities do not arise without struggle. They grow when you answer life's challenges with trust. When you look at the stories of your brothers and sisters on this earth, you will see that many have fallen into a snare because they tried to drink from two sources. They longed for the living water while also scooping from polluted wells. This cannot lead to a life of fullness. The choice is yours. You cannot cling to my word while allowing the voices of the world to pull you elsewhere. When you divide your soul among many sources, it becomes dull, fragmented, and easily deceived. I do not demand that you abandon every relationship or attachment, but I long for you to discern where your true source of energy comes from. It must be the Word, an intimate relationship with me, a life of prayer, and the sensitivity of the Reik's Spirit. Other things may be good, but they are not the essence of life. If you treat them as the source, you will one day find yourself in deep lack. Do not forget that the angels and the gifts I have reserved for you are always at work alongside your own transformation. They interact, never apart. You do your part when you choose to walk by faith. I do mine when I strengthen you, open doors, and prepare the path. When you rise to call truth by its name and lay down your chains, messengers guard that path and clear the way for blessings. At times, I send a stranger to bring a word of counsel. At times, I let an opportunity appear as though by chance, though it was carefully arranged. At times, a sudden spark glows in your heart with clear direction. Each of these is a sign of my tender work with you. That is why you must never feel alone. Even in solitude where you think no one is near, I still have hidden means of caring for you. Remember that what I place within you carries a greater purpose not only for your safety, but that you might become a source of grace for many. Do not keep that gift to yourself out of fear that it is too small. What I value is not the size at the beginning, but the faithfulness with which you nurture it. A small light, when fed by faith and action, can overcome the darkness of an entire room. A small act of love can open the way for someone to find hope again. A single truthful word, even whispered in silence, can change the course of a soul. Great things in this world often begin with humble beginnings. Do not despise the inspirations you think are little, and be ready to pay the price. Every rightful step forward comes with a choice. At times you must sacrifice reputation, at times endure misunderstanding, at times accept loss for the sake of a greater harvest. Yet I promise the reward far outweighs what you leave behind. The false safety the enemy offers will make you poor in the long run, but the freedom I give, though refined through trials, will make you rich within, radiant for others, and deeply enduring in your own life. When you learn to walk through fear, you will see that trials are no longer foes, but trainers' thresholds that lead you to your greater self. Do not miss the small invitations where I call you to join. Prayers need not be long, but they must be sincere. Acts of charity need not be loud, but they must be wholehearted. Obedience need not be glamorous, but it must be steadfast. In these ordinary deeds, you construct the framework of a lasting spiritual life. And when that framework is secure, the enemy will find fewer doors left open, whispers will have no ground, and you will walk in the freedom for which you were made. Everything within and around you is arranged by me with purpose. At times I use trials to shape you. At times I send gifts through seemingly small encounters. At times I preserve a spark in your heart that will grow into a fire to warm others. You do not walk alone. I accompany, I lead, I await your courageous steps. The source you drink from today will determine the direction of your life tomorrow. Drink from the living water, keep your eyes fixed on me, and let your life testify that truth and love are more powerful than every deceitful whisper. I look at you with unending affection, and I want you to hear clearly, the season when lies could trap your steps in a cycle of despair is coming to an end. Not because you suddenly became stronger, but because I have begun loosening each binding cord delicately, yet firmly undoing every deceitful script that sought to define you. Every slander spoken into the air to confine you, every label, bias, or whisper of prejudice I am pulling out from the soil of your soul. The shadows that tried to cover your dignity I scatter for the light to shine through. Every name the world hastily pinned on you I peel away to restore the original image I formed. Think of me as the craftsman carefully brushing away the dust from a statue, not in haste but with certainty. With every touch I restore the features, unveiling forgotten beauty, until at last you realize you are not merely fragments but a work of art cherished and preserved. What I am doing now is not a sudden impulse. It has long foundations. I have intervened in history, leading my people out of slavery, opening a path through the sea of despair, rekindling the hearts of the abandoned, restoring to them their voice of justice. When you recall those events not as old stories but as living witnesses of my ways, you will see a pattern. Where you seemed bound, I appeared to release. Where you thought forsaken, I stretched out my hand. Where darkness pressed down, I became the light. And just as I acted then, so you have reason to trust that what I am doing now will bring a cleansing to your life as well. Release, clarity, and restoration. Not every unbinding is pleasant. I do not hide that truth from you. The cords removed may feel as though parts of your old self are torn away. You may stumble, weep, or sense loss. But know this, the pain is the price to reclaim your true self. It is the stripping away of deception's residue so the living word may take root. Think of tearing away bandages clinging to a wound. Gently done, the wound still festers, but firmly done, healing is complete. If you desire full freedom, you must let me work. And as I do, you will feel strange stirrings, pride challenged, comforts, shaken false ties corrected. Do not fear these changes. They are signs of liberation. I allow trials to exist before unbinding because discipline only has value when you engage. If I remove the chains without your awareness, you could easily return to them. Thus, I use hardships as sharpening tools, honing your faith, patience, and discernment. Each time you choose truth over lies, your faith roots deepen. Each time you stand firm against temptation, you grow stronger. My work is not simply to remove pain, but to form you as a witness, one who can lead others out of darkness. When you see that I have done this for others before, let those testimonies anchor your faith today. What has been done then assures you are not alone, and what I do now will end with no less restoration. You may still ask, will I truly cleanse every fragment? Take heart, I work even in what you cannot see. Much of the healing happens quietly, in thoughts, in feelings, in hidden corners you conceal. I sweep them with patience, shining light into every crevice, transforming wrong patterns of mind. And when it is done, you will see the signs: your heart lighter, your reactions no longer ruled by fear, your relationships renewed. You will no longer chase external tokens to prove your worth. You will stand firm in the identity I have given. That will be undeniable proof that I have removed your chains. Yet with every release comes an invitation: live differently to preserve freedom. If you receive grace, but return to old ways, new bonds may form. That is why I not only loose the chains, but teach you to bind your life anew by placing my word first, by choosing healthy community, by practicing forgiveness, and by boldly saying no to old temptations. This is the art of living free, not careless indulgence, but disciplined freedom. Freedom in essence. When you master your inner self, no lie, however spoken, will find a root within you. And know this subtle truth in this process: you are not molded into a rigid ideal, but open to become your truest self. Instead of hiding scars, you are invited to make them testimony. Instead of suppressing emotion, you bring them to the table of healing. Instead of living for others' gaze, you live for my inward call. In this life, broken fragments become places where I rebuild beauty, and you will see that even the hardest days were part of the forging that makes you one who can share freedom with others. I do not only take away chains, I make your life useful for my kingdom. I want you to act concretely. Begin by naming the negative thoughts that have taken root. Write them down, bring them to me in prayer. Then slowly replace them with truth each time a lie appears. Speak a declaration of identity, a word from me, an affirmation of what is yours. By repetition, these truths will seed your spirit like new life. Share this process with trusted companions so they remind you when you forget. Receiving support is wisdom, not weakness. And as you practice what I have begun, will enter a phase of strengthening. I will not only free you, but fill the space with grace, encouragement, and strength to walk securely. Remember, whether your healing is long or short, I will not leave you. Each time you fall, I lift you. Each time you rise, I walk with you. Do not fear, do not turn away. Do not cling to lies out of the excuse. At least they are familiar. Instead, choose a new beginning today. A life more whole, freer indeed, built on the solid ground of my word and my unfailing love. As you do, my voice will outshine all others. You will walk in truth, and in that truth find the freedom no deceiver can ever steal. Hear this word from the Father: though everything around you shifts, tides rising and falling, seasons passing, lives beginning and ending, I remain unshaken. My hand has never left the workings of the universe, and in every turn of life, both trial and blessing are arranged by divine wisdom to refine you. Remember the first moment when order was called forth from chaos, before form only nameless, void, infinite silence, and then my word resounded as a loving command to call forth light. That was not only the voice of creation, but the beginning of rhythm of day and night, of harvest and rest. From then on, every cycle, every heartbeat, every dawn bears the imprint of a divine will, teaching you to live within the order I give. When I set the cosmos in motion, I also set a pattern for your life: a time to work, a time to pause, a time to rise, a time to wait, Through these turns, your spirit is trained. Do not think trials are mere punishments. Seen with faith, they are like the tools in a craftsman's hand at times, grinding at times, bending yet always shaping for use. Likewise, when you face resistance, it is not because I am against you, but because I want your faith to grow from something fragile and fleeting into deep roots anchored in the rock of my word. I long for you to understand that every trial is steeped in purpose, so that trust may become more than theory transforming into lived experience. Muscles in the body grow stronger when they face resistance, and so does the spirit. Only through endurance, through choosing to stand firm in the storm, do you learn not to be shaken. Each time you choose to place your trust in my word, rather than react out of fear, each time you dare to declare truth in the midst of a tide of doubt, a sacred current sinks deeper into your being. Those decisions, even in silence, forge an inner strength that steadies you against subtle schemes. And when darkness surrounds you, when the whispers of the deceiver rise in your mind, it is those imprints of experience that help you discern truth, not by dry knowledge, but by wisdom etched through encounter. Do not forget, I created the universe not merely to prove my power, but to teach you how to trust with each step you take. The laws of creation, calling forth light, distinguishing day and night, dividing the dry from the wet, are themselves a lesson in choosing the source of life. You cannot drink from a poisoned well and still cry out for water. If you attempt to absorb both, your body will grow weary and your spirit poisoned. Therefore, I invite you to take your stand. Choose out of love where to pour your heart. Choose the pure spring without mingling with tainted streams. My word is living water. It nourishes, purifies, heals wounds, and makes the soil of your heart fertile so that truth may take root. By contrast, every voice of deception, every worldly measure, every counterfeit blessing is but temporary water quenching for a moment only to leave behind deeper thirst. When you face sorrow, let it become the hand that teaches you to walk wisely, not by denying what you feel, but by refusing to let it define you. Embrace pain as the material through which I shape you. There are experiences that suffocate when you cling to them, but when you bring them before me, offering them to the Father, I transform them into testimony of grace. That is why I do not remove every hardship in your life. I allow them so that you may learn, that your faith may mature, that you may not remain one easily deceived by soft whispers promising fleeting happiness. Every temptation, every fall is not a final sentence, but a chance to recognize yourself and return. Consider the heroes of faith in Scripture. They were not those who never faced trials, but those who knew how to rise again in hardship, who kept their promises, who clung to the word when all around them collapsed. They are recorded in my story not because they were flawless, but because they persevered. And it was precisely perseverance that formed in them the character of warriors, not easily deceived hearts, attuned minds, discerning faith unshaken by manipulation. You practice this not by grand gestures, but through small acts each day. A prayer whispered in the mist of dawn, a confession of truth in weakness, a decision to forgive when instinct screams otherwise. Such things are not trivial. They are the foundation for a life that remains standing when storms break. Let me remind you of the importance of continuity. There is never a day I cease to call you back, never a moment when my word does not invite renewal of fellowship. As you gradually learn to draw from the word as your source, you discover a new rhythm, not the restless pace of chasing after vanities, but the steady rhythm of a life with depth, a rhythm with seasons of sowing and reaping, of labor and rest, of struggle and comfort. And it is this rhythm that matures you to cherish trials because you see their value in sharpening faith, to value blessings rightly because you understand that true blessing sometimes flows through trial, to wait, not in passivity, but in trust in the Father's timing. I desire that you see more deeply that the power I give is not for you to dominate others, but for you to be free. Free from inner chains, free from craving human recognition, free to love and to serve without seeking repayment. When you step into this power, you do not boast. You simply live true to your created nature, a being graced to reflect the Father's love. In practice, this power is revealed in calm amid adversity, in patience during waiting, in forgiving love where wounds have been inflicted. Such are the marks of one who builds on solid rock, not on the shifting sands of fleeting emotion. Therefore do not fear trials. Receive them as a refiner welcomes fire, that pure gold may emerge, and yet remain watchful lest you be ensnared by false flames masquerading as refinement. This is why you must guard your mind with the Word, nourish your heart in prayer, and anchor your steps within the communion of fellowship. Thus every blow that life hurls at you will not shatter the soul but polish the inner qualities, so that you may stand as a living witness of the Father's transforming power. I urge you to remember a truth both simple and profound. Every trial you overcome is not for me to reward you in worldly ways, but for you to grow in love, for your true identity to be unveiled, and for you to enter into the freedom I reserved for you before you were born. Let each step be an answer you choose. The Father over lies the Word over fleeting feelings, love over fear. And when you live so, your life becomes a hymn not for your own glory, but for the glory of God who created light and placed you within the rhythm of creation to walk in truth and freedom. I want to draw your hand back to an ancient yet ever-living image, that you may see how I use moments of extremity not for ruin but for renewal. Look to the man named Noah. He was no hero by the world's measure, but simply one who listened amid the confusion of his time. When I commanded build a great ark, ridicule rolled like waves upon the shore. Voices called it madness, waste the butt of laughter. Yet he did not let those voices define his actions. He believed and worked in silent labor, plank by plank, beam by beam, chamber by chamber, as I instructed. That is the gesture of faith, not an emotional thrill, but the humble choice each day to do right in a world resounding with opposition. When waters rose, sweeping away borders, swallowing what seemed firm by sight and human power in the loss, there emerged a space for me to lay new foundations. I take no delight in your pain, yet I use the flood as a furnace. What was unstable, washed away; what was faithful, preserved. And from the fragments of an old generation, I forged a ground for a purer beginning, guided by principles I set. The rainbow stretched across the sky is not merely a sign of covenant, but a reminder that I remain faithful to my promises, a symbol of mercy, a pledge that utter destruction is no longer my design. I will not let the cosmos sink into ruin without a path of return. Within this lies a profound truth for you. Even when all seems dissolved, I have already prepared a way for the hearts that hear and obey. Thus the trials you face are not random nor cruel punishment. They are invitations into deep transformation. Each time you choose truth over lies, each time you rise in weakness and confess faith, your roots press deeper into good soil. Like a tree braced by wind, its trunk grows stronger, no longer easily broken by storm. These collisions do not destroy your essence, but refine your spirit. For I see purpose in each strike I shape you to endure. Yet keep compassion to witness, not through worldly power, but through a renewed life. Remember Noah, he did not know the full future only my command, and he obeyed. That act saved him from wrath, but more, it became the seed of a new story, a family, a lineage, carrying light forward. So too are you invited to trust my word in moments that seem senseless to the natural eye, for I see beyond. I hold a plan of redemption and renewal, not only for you, but for all who walk with you. Do not fear the loss when I call you to release the counterfeit. Such loss is often the pruning of rot so that new life may grow. You may have to let go of illusions of safety, a secure job, a relationship that merely validates victories that once gave you pride, yet to cling to these may cost you the part of yourself I intend for greater purpose. When you dare to build the ark I assign, others may not understand, but when the waters rise, that very ark will guard you and entrust you with carrying seeds of newness. And remember, I do not promise that this journey will be painless. It may bring grief, regret, the ache of parting, but through walking in pain, you gain wisdom, otherwise unknown wisdom, of community, of humility, of leaning on a strength beyond yourself. Let your heart be stirred in the midst of trial. The faith I call you to is not passive but deliberate action. Noah did not sit idly to watch the world sink. He labored under the rain, he held patience in the face of mockery, he chose each day to finish the task given. So with you, faith is the chain of small acts amid laughter and scorn, perseverance in doing right, when unseen integrity before yourself and before me. Each time you do so, a chain falls from your shoulders, and new strength is awakened within your soul, the very power I grant for you to stand firm in the world. I also want you to grasp that my covenant, symbolized by the rainbow, is my pledge to history. I watch over life and walk with those who choose me. When you cling to the promise, you are not preserved for yourself alone, but become a keeper of promise for others, a guardian of truth's treasure in a world of imitations. You will be called to hand on hope, to build safe places for the lost, to light the way for those who follow. Do not see holding to truth as selfish. It is the labor of building humanity's family. Noah did not only save himself, but bore life for a new generation. So you are invited to witness a new beginning through a life refined by trial. And when storms rage, I promise to be there to bind your wounds, to fill the loss with greater meaning. There will be times you wish to turn back, when weariness of always choosing the hard way weighs heavy. I know and I share your burden, yet I challenge you not to let fatigue dictate your future. Remember that physical muscles grow through exercise, and so does faith. It grows through resistance, through fixing your gaze on the Word, through refusing to drink from the poisoned well that demands less effort. Even when the desert feels endless, trust that the living water I give will lead you through. Each time you drink where I direct, though thirst presses for other choices, you are training yourself in a steady habit, the habit of choosing truth above fleeting feelings. Do not neglect the community in this journey. Noah acted in the midst of a vast society, yet the ark he built became a vessel holding the breadth of my vision. In the same way, you are placed within a network of relationships to endure and heal together. Seek companions who share your resolve to guard the promise, who not only celebrate in ease but stand by you when your vessel trembles. In such fellowship, we learn together, correct together, and help break chains for one another. Do not strive alone. Miracles do not always arrive through solitary acts. Often they come through the hands of brothers and sisters holding one another in the night. At last, let your heart be touched by hope. Every trial you overcome today not only strengthens you but also prepares the ground for new seeds of life to sprout. Every ark you build in obedience is not a meaningless project, but a foundation upon which another harvest will come. Commit to me that you will not allow deceit, the chance of the world, or the storms of testing to dim your vision. Instead, you will endure, you will build, you will guard, you will love, and you will witness how I turn hardships into bridges that lead you and others back to true life. Like Noah, you may begin with a small act that seems insignificant and misunderstood, yet it is an act of faithfulness, and I will use those acts to rewrite your story until the moment I declare, behold, a new beginning has come, and the rainbow appears in the sky once again as a sign that I am with you through every trial and every shifting season. I desire to lead you one step further, not to burden you with anxiety, but to widen your sight beyond your private limits and allow you to see the wonder that happens when a heart truly returns to its source, when one allows my word to weave together thought and deed. It does not end within that heart, but ripples outward like a holy fracture, flowing through relationships, through community, and gradually influencing the very structure of society. Do not despise silent prayers, sincere repentance, or the smallest acts of love. They are seeds with the power to blossom into a harvest of transformation. Imagine a wall seemingly solid dividing the sacred from the ordinary. When my people begin to live authentically in my word, when they refuse falsehood, the wall begins to crack, not by human strength, but by the power of truth when practiced. Continually, prayer joined with action, faith joined with justice, love no longer a sentiment but a way of life. Throughout history, I have poured out my spirit, unexpectedly reviving barren places. Great awakenings often begin with small steps, a handful of people kneeling in a living room, a few sighs of repentance, a whispered plea for forgiveness in the dark, and then like water seeping into parched ground, grace flows, clearing the way for a new tide of life. Such revivals do not merely restore individuals but reshape contexts. Broken families are mended. Cold neighborhoods become generous. Communities once drowned in vice produce, defenders of the weak, and justice begins to flow like a stream from its source. I want you to see this when a group of people chooses my word as their measure, when they declare truth not only with words but with their lives. The result is a movement that spreads. It is not a flashy beginning but a patient process, repentance, pulling hearts away from complacency, humility, replacing pride, action, standing as the true measure above empty speech. I have used the smallest of people to ignite revolutions of grace. I have chosen fragile hearts, and with their frail hands I have lifted high the banner of love. Remember, even great movements that shook the fortresses of power began with a few hearts unwilling to remain silent, a few prayers that refused to be extinguished. In places hardened beyond hope, a single spark of kindness is enough to kindle a great flame, not to destroy but to warm, to light the path for the wandering to return. Do not think that my work is confined to fleeting moments of emotion. I bring lasting transformation through perseverance in spiritual life. When you and those around you choose to live by my word each day, when you defend truth and practice justice, the impact begins to move beyond your household, spreading into the neighborhood, filtering into education, shaping business, influencing courts, and teaching people how to love the poor. A fragile thread of honesty woven consistently through community becomes a strong fabric. This, little by little, rots the foundations of injustice and raises up the values of service. When people replace accusations with forgiveness, when hatred is turned into a bridge, social structures once corroded are torn down and justice is raised in their place. This is the essence of grace. It does not end with the individual but transforms the collective. It does not mend a shard alone but renews the whole frame. Understand also, these changes do not come from miracles that break natural law. They come from the weaving together of my grace and your concrete choices. Each time you refuse to lie, each time you defend the voiceless, each time you share your wealth to uplift another, you are laying a stone for a new society. When many hearts act this way together, they absorb new values like soil drinking rain, and old habits are worn away by the power of new life. Renewal is not a gust of wind that passes once and stops. It is a river that flows steady and persistent, carving channels, shaping streams, and in time greening the land once barren. Look to the sacred map of history. There are moments when I poured out my spirit in unusual ways, revealing the power of renewal that awakened entire nations. Waves of repentance, reconciliations, and acts of justice reshaped laws, culture, and sometimes the very destiny of a people. These seasons are rare but not impossible to repeat. They require courageous souls, humility, and unwavering persistence. I invite you together with my seekers, not for political gain or earthly profit, but for the longing to see justice flow like water and truth, like an inexhaustible spring. When that happens, the poor will be heard, the oppressed will find a voice, and hope will become reality for more souls than you can imagine. To reach that place, you and those around you must be willing to pay the price of renewal, to forsake personal interests when they conflict with truth, to speak words that heal, even when they are costly, to endure misunderstanding, opposition for the sake of justice, and to persist in both prayer and action. True revival requires the union of inner renewal with practical decisions. Laws change when people dare to use their small power in love. Culture shifts when new values are repeated until they become habit. That is why I warn you, do not expect an instant miracle if you are not prepared to pay the price of transformation. But do not despair either. I am here ready to use even your smallest efforts to turn the great wheel. You need both sensitivity and patience. Sensitivity to discern small openings where seeds of justice may be planted. Patience to watch the slow but sure process of change. Begin by creating small oases, places where you and a few companions live out my word in tangible ways, worship without formality, sharing resources, learning to resolve conflict with patience, applying justice in relationships. These oases will become the starting points for broader journeys, because when others witness the striking difference, a family restored, a child nurtured, a neighborhood guarded with care, they will be curious and seek the source of such change. From that curiosity, a new movement may be born. I remind you that every sphere of society can be transformed: education, law, economy, the arts. When faith is practiced consistently, those in influential positions will themselves be reshaped by my word, and from there, policies and the flow of dough. Resources can be redirected toward the common good rather than private gain. I do not promise this will be swift, but I assure you, wherever sincere hearts live lives structured by justice and mercy, I will work wonders through time. When justice becomes a movement, when love is the standard, the entire social order must shift, and the power of darkness will be diminished. Therefore, believe that you are not insignificant when you choose to live truthfully. On the contrary, such acts bear eternal weight. Every small deed is a link in a chain, every prayer, a thread binding heaven and earth, and when the chain grows long enough, it pulls even greater structures with it. Be courageous in doing your part, not to seek glory, but to join me in building a world where truth and love prevail. And when you look back on the journey, you will see that great transformations are not distant events, but the fruit of thousands of small, faithful choices. Some changes come into your life not with gentleness, but with violent shaking, the sound of collapse, the echo of departing feet, the days when you feel choked and drained. Do not be surprised when I tell you that even those desolate moments are within my redemptive hand. When the canvas of your life is torn by war, when your secure routine is severed by exile, when storms topple the structures you once thought unshakable, I take no delight. I am not cruel. I use the ruins themselves as tools to dismantle weakness, invisible chains, and false foundations that you and society unknowingly built. Imagine an ancient forest where fire strips away excess, clears decayed trunks, and makes room for fresh, stronger growth. So too, fierce upheavals can strip away coverings, letting light pierce places long hidden. In the ashes of loss, I plant seeds anew, preparing the soil for a straighter foundation, a more righteous structure, not merely to restart, but to raise up something more enduring, tested by fire and shaped by my hand. When you feel exiled, far from home, far from the familiar, surrounded by strange tongues and unfamiliar ways, do not see it as an unjust sentence. It may be the space I use to purge shallow dependencies, to teach you to live not on safe habits, but on the identity I have set within your heart. Exile forces you to return to your roots, to touch your essence. You are not defined by dwelling office or status. You are a being called by me to carry light into foreign lands. During their years in captivity, the Jews found that it was precisely in foreign soil they preserved their faith, gave wings to new hope. Many discovered again their sacred voice and learned to pass faith to their children, not through worldly glitter, but through the testimony of survival and refined faithfulness. So see difficult seasons as training as a furnace where your character is hammered to strength, where your faith sinks to its roots, so that when the season passes, you will not only regain what was lost, but carry a resilience you never had before. War, whether between nations or within the human heart, exposes emptiness and reveals what truly matters. When guns thunder, much display is blown away. Fame, wealth, temporary achievements lose their worth. What remains is bare humanity with pain and hope, and in that stripping down I can reach more deeply, for you no longer wear the layers that conceal your heart. Poverty forces you to confront yourself, and in that moment, if you yield to me, compassion awakens. Solidarity is woven, flesh to flesh, no longer through hollow ritual. I want you to see that trial does not always take from you. Sometimes it returns to you your truest self, making you tender enough to embrace others in the same plight. Through all chaos, I am at work not by removing every hardship, but by weaving meaning, vision, and renewal into them. I work like an artist among ruins, selecting pieces that fit, arranging them so a new structure may rise. Even when you see only failure, I see potential in the ashes. Even when you feel alienated, I have already designed the way home to your recreated self. This is my persistent work to bring forth from destruction something with greater endurance, not to inflict pain, but to redeem, to heal, and to place you in a context more fertile for creativity. Those who embrace change with trust find themselves invited into a story beyond their private lives. They become co-workers, witnesses to a larger plan. When you do not flee from pain, but allow me to transform it into wisdom, you enter into my grand work of salvation. A single life that yields can give birth to change in family, in community, and nation, like a drop of water creating ripples that never cease. Do not belittle the impact of surrendering to my reshaping. What you do has a reach beyond your imagination. Change does not renew you alone. It renews the community, erasing outdated structures, removing what is hollow, and giving space for truth to flourish. When a society undergoes crisis, yet clings to false values, it decays further. But when crisis compels a people to return and rebuild on righteousness, on justice, mercy, and respect for human dignity above personal gain, it is given a chance for rebirth. I call my people to be a guiding force in this process by living truthfully, by walking through ruins with hope. They show the world another way, the way of reconstruction through love and truth, not oppression and injustice. When my people walk thus, they spread a new culture, and from the fragments of the old, a righteous foundation can be raised. Of course, hardship does not vanish simply because I call you to embrace change. You will still face loss, mourning, nights bowed beneath temporary futility. But in the darkest hours, I quietly place signs of hope, a kind encounter, an unexpected word of comfort, an open door to restoration. Do not overlook these small tokens. They are signals that I am arranging step by step a great work. Keep eyes trained to discern my fingerprints in what seems trivial, and hold fast to the faith that each fragment is being lifted to build anew. Know this as well, when I dismantle. Not all is stripped away in vain, much is removed, so that a stronger identity may emerge. Perhaps you lose position but gain humility. Perhaps you lose wealth but rediscover closeness with family. Perhaps you suffer wounds but learn forgiveness and healing. This is the wisdom of a life measured not by immediate harvest but by what is eternal. I want your gaze fixed on what endures, for only this can withstand time and storm. And when all is rebuilt, I do not merely restore, but elevate. I fashion a creation more harmonious, a community more resilient and radiant in hardship. Those who once suffered become guides for the lost. Scars become testimonies of grace. Weary lessons become treasures of wisdom handed down to the next generation. Thus, breaking does not end in ruin, but opens the way for a new culture, braver and richer in compassion. Therefore, do not grow weary when your life is unsettled. Place your trust in the process I am weaving. Choose to stand with me in rebuilding. Join the work of healing with tangible acts, serving the poor, caring for the disadvantaged, shaping small communities of mercy. When you do this, you are partnering in my great work. And remember, holding one another in hardship does not weaken faith, but strengthens it. When you shelter your brother, you are the vessel through which I bring light into the darkness. Every change you endure may be painful, but none of it is in vain. I use it to sift, to train, to rebuild with a higher purpose, to shape a life and a community that reflect love and truth. Those who dare to take this path, fragile at first like a flickering flame, will become the keepers of the fire for others. And when tomorrow arrives, they will realize that in the storm I prepared them not only to survive, but to bear witness, to heal, and to raise up a generation that carries radiant strength in the midst of the night. Believe this, hold fast to hope, and walk in courage. For I am sitting beside the work, I do not cease from labor, and my purpose has always been restoration and the giving of life. I look upon you in this season of transformation And I speak plainly, what unravels before your eyes is not mere random change, but the trace of a great work. I am undertaking a purification that is quiet yet fierce, where what has withered and run dry will fall from the human heart like autumn leaves. The powers that cling to the shells of faded values are straining, seeking every means to preserve themselves by cries for help, by old forms, by outdated patterns. They fear losing their place, for they know that when truth is revealed, their nakedness will be exposed. But I tell you, this is not the first time I have carried out a historic shift. Though the forms differ, the principle remains the same. I intervene to liberate, to lead humanity out of every bondage that does not belong to me. Recall the generations past, when I made a way in the desert, when I split the sea so the people could pass, when I drew life out of what seemed mute and barren. The winds of change today may appear different, but the essence remains the same: grace. I separate what destroys from what gives life. I draw lines between what can endure in my kingdom and what cannot align with my ways. In this moment I am working on many fronts, loosening false persuasions handed down through generations, stories that impoverished faith, customs that made you tolerate injustice, cultural myths that caused you to forget your dignity. They sank like roots passed from father to child, becoming assumed patterns, yet I am shining into every hidden corner to expose, to separate, and to restore. At the same time, I am awakening a new voice across the earth, not belonging to one person or one sect, but to awaken souls, to people of diverse backgrounds, vocations, and cultures. They will proclaim the truth in different tongues through varied memories and lived experiences, yet with one spirit to announce my love, to invite a return to the source. I am causing lives that once seemed unrelated to find common ground, binding them under a single banner, unconditional love, so that beneath it they will rise and bear witness that I am still at work among humankind. You will see familiar things reappear in new form, miracles not confined to ancient pages but spilling into the streets, the hospitals, the stations, the churches, healing not only of bodies but of wounded minds and trampled memories. Those once cast aside will rise with new voices, and what seemed forgotten will awaken. As in times past I built an ark of salvation amid the flood, so now I am raising safe havens, communities, relationships, networks of goodwill, where you may be sheltered and trained to live differently. Just as I sent Abraham into an unknown land, I now call those who hear my voice to take a step of faith. Those willing to yield will see a path opened by my design, not by anxious human plans. And just as I used Moses to break chains, so I am moving through those who will serve as instruments of freedom, breaking their brothers and sisters loose from modern slaveries, the slavery of prejudice, of greed, of envy, and of fear. Do not be surprised that this stirring brings resistance. Every renewal provokes what is perishing to cling, by all means, by tradition, by power, by the fear of being replaced. Therefore now in many places there will be debates, struggles of heart. Many voices will rage as old foundations shift. Yet I invite you to see deeper. Within conflict, discernment may be born. Within trial, deeper moral wisdom may emerge. Long ago there were hearts that chose to follow me, though they knew the path would stumble. So too today those who dare to believe will be invited to bear hardship, to endure a season of discomfort in order to take part in the great work of rebuilding. Let me speak of the nature of my miracles. They are not for show or self-display, but for healing and the restoration of love's order. The signs you witness will not be isolated spectacles removed from daily life, but the joining of the sacred with the ordinary, where everyday existence is touched by boundless power. The sick will be restored, but more deeply, they will rediscover their worth. Fractured families will find words of reconciliation. Relationships stained by lies will be cleansed as truth is declared. And as individuals are healed, the larger community begins to change, like drops of water joining into a current, small transformations, accumulating into a wave that shakes unjust structures. I also want you to understand that the unity I am bringing forth is not a shallow blending for popularity, but a union in truth and love. People of opposing factions of different cultures will meet without denying their identities, but to see each other through my eyes humanity, not for division but for healing. Differences of thought will remain, but I teach you respect while holding firmly to truth. When I connect you to others, it is to reveal a larger picture, a body of many diverse members, sharing one breath of life, the image of my kingdom on earth. Do not forget, old patterns will reappear, more subtle, better disguised. They may come clothed in the forms of progress of science, of art, even of seemingly humane words. Therefore you must be discerning. Your measure must be my word, your guidance, my spirit, your safeguard, the testing within your community. Train your eyes to recognize what truly serves and what is only surface ornament. When you learn to see with this light, I will show you the difference and grant you courage to stand on the front lines, unafraid of displeasing people or being called narrow. You will witness both awakening and collapse, both moments of joy and hours of grief, but do not let the temporary dishearten you. As a seed must decay in the soil before sprouting, so too many things must die for something better to grow. I call you to patience and cooperation. Take part in building, not only in watching. When I call you to bear witness, do not turn away. When I grant you the chance to heal another, do not retreat. When I open a door to welcome the excluded, step forward with an open heart. The small deeds you do today will become the wellspring of greater change tomorrow. Hold on to fervent hope. What may seem now like a vague picture I am shaping into a clear vision. Voices once despised will become bells of awakening. Quiet acts of kindness will swell into a movement. Prayers once whispered will resound into a symphony of renewal. Believe that I am doing this not only for a few individuals, but for a generation. For many generations, I am ordaining a flow of revival, not shallow but deep, not noisy but sure. You are invited. Rise with courage, hold firm in faith, and become part of my work. Do not cling to what is decaying. Instead, take my hand and step into a recreated future. As those of old saw my wonders, so today you too shall be both witness and participant. They will recount it, and the story will pass through generations as testimony to my unending power and love. Be awake, be brave, and let my light shine through your life, for in that very light webs of deceit will dissolve and new life will spread everywhere. Pause a moment and hear my heart. Every experience, every pain, every joy you have known is not a meaningless fragment. They are strokes upon the map, leading you to the place I have appointed. Do not gaze too long at the shards falling before you, and forget that my hand is laying new stones. Do not keep your eyes only on endings and refuse to see beginnings. In every seeming conclusion, a seed of birth is quietly sprouting. Through all the ages I have renewed history, not by extinguishing all things, but by reassigning meaning, by turning confusion into order, tears into joy, and from ashes shaping beauty. Let this memory console you. Lives that once seemed hopeless became step-by-step proof of my work. Hardships were not sentences but chisels in my hand, and their truth struck deeper roots in your heart. Do not judge the journey with fleshly eyes. Look with the heart I have touched. There will be moments you feel lost, overwhelmed by sudden changes, work shifting, relationships, breaking health, declining plans, delayed. In such times I know you long for instant answers, for a clear map to continue. But I invite you into another truth. Not every question needs an immediate reply. Some moments require patience until the larger picture is revealed. Trials not only uncover weakness, they awaken in you new capacity to endure when all is contrary, to be patient, when no result appears to stand firm, when your soul wants to surrender. Truly, through these tests, you will learn the subtle skill of discerning what weakens you and what strengthens you. I have seen you tremble before the winds of change, missing the chance to believe in a different future, fearing that to hope is to be disappointed. Yet you forget that the very risk of faith gives birth to great leaps. When you entrust me with your trust without guarantees, I act, opening doors you thought shut, granting opportunities you thought lost, turning your small steps into a journey toward blessing. Most miracles do not arrive as a dazzling explosion before all, but as a delicate thread drawn slowly, strand by strand, until the whole fabric appears. Therefore, do not measure the value of your prayers or deeds by visible outcomes. Often, my blessing comes quietly, yet profoundly reshaping your inner structure, so that when you look back, you see the whole story transformed. You say, "I want certainty. I want to know it will all be well." I understand that desire, and I do not refuse comfort. Yet I long to give you more the capacity to live in the breath of faith, not only in awaited signs. Learning to walk when the map is incomplete is the art of faith, and that art is forged in difficulty. Each time you reject fear and embrace promise, I see within you a shift. The roots of faith deepen, your vision grows steadier. Failures no longer weigh as verdicts. They become teachers' pages, noting the lessons learned and the destination I prepare for you. When you look back, do not see only scars. Seek the marks of my hand upon them. There were times you thought every door slammed, yet later you saw that very closing led you to another door, wider, brighter, more fitting for my purpose. That is how I work, not to destroy for emptiness' sake, but to clear space for the new. So learn to give thanks in all things, not only for good events, but because I know how to turn sorrow into gain, how to bring you to a dawn even out of the storm. You may fear you are unworthy, that the past has stolen the promises from you. I remind you, no failure is too vast for my healing, no gap too deep for grace to descend. I do not count your faults to deny you, but to show that my love does not rest on perfection. When you bring me the broken pieces of your life, I do not discard you from the plan. I touch each fragment, mend it, fit it together, and return to you a renewed face. Look at the stories in the history of faith. Many were called in the midst of wounds, pushed through the darkness to become torches for others. So shall it be with you if you let me work. You are invited into a process greater than yourself, a current where I am making all things new. Do not fear lacking answers. A sincere yes often opens the way more than any reasoning. When you say yes to me, you place your mind and your hands under the Creator's guidance, and each step thereafter will be directed. The path may have potholes, slopes, pauses for sharpening your blade, yet you will not walk alone. My presence alongside you is a surer guarantee than any perfect map, even when you see no way I see. Even when you stumble, I uphold. And when you look back, you will see what seemed random woven into one singular masterpiece. Take every anxiety, every heartbeat, every regret as raw material for my hands to shape. You may feel weary, sometimes resentful, and that is human. I do not despise your weakness, but I invite you to lay it before me. When you bring your frailty into the light rather than hiding it, I do the rest, turning weariness into endurance, mourning into dance, doubt into clarity. This is how I have always dealt with my people, not abandoning them in the desert, not leaving them in despair, but teaching them to walk on with unshakable hope. And my child, do not forget that the blessings I give are often greater than what you can imagine. There are graces that come in ways you did not expect, and encounter a word of counsel at the right time, an opportunity opening like a sudden window of light in the dark night. But to perceive these things, you must keep the eyes of your soul open, refusing to sink into the shadows of anxiety. Practicing trust is not the absence of wisdom, it is the weaving together of wisdom with courage, stepping forward while waiting, knowing that I am at work even when you cannot yet see. From there, you will learn the art of living vibrantly, to act and to pray, to work and to trust at the same time. You must remember, everything is shifting, a movement of salvation, and I am inviting you into that journey. It does not promise that you will escape all pain. You may walk through greater suffering in some seasons, yet behind it all lies a higher purpose, that you may be transformed, set free, and used as an instrument for others. When you look back, you will recognize my hand in every step. You will see where I led you beyond temptation, where I turned pain into blessing, where I taught you to love more, forgive more, and serve more fully. Therefore today, I want you to rise with new resolve. Choose once again to place faith above fear. Say yes with more courage than yesterday. Take every experience as material for a greater purpose, and recognize that I have not left you for even a moment. You do not have to strain alone to make everything right. You need only open your heart, hand me your worries, and walk in the call. The road ahead may not be smooth, but it is on that very road that you will discover a new depth of intimacy with me, an intimacy born from walking with me through every season. Let your heart be comforted by this. Every step you take, however small, has direction. Every turn you make, however unclear, is illuminated by a love that sees all. And when your time comes, you will realize that no experience was wasted, but each became holy substance that gave your voice power and light for those still wandering. You are the voice of hope for a new generation, and I am walking with you toward that end. Hear me once more with your heart, not just your ears. When you rest yourself in my embrace, no tide can sweep away the essence I keep secure. No flame can consume what I preserve. I am your fortress, the place where you may lay your head without fear of tomorrow. Do not let anxious words fill your mind. The storms of the world rise and fall, but I set you upon solid rock. When violent waves rise, I hold you as a lighthouse in the night, not to leave you frozen in fear, but to help you see the safe path through the storm. Step forward, take my hand, so that each of your steps is guided not by rash judgments or swaying emotions, but by the steady guidance of the love that once sacrificed for you. Fix your eyes on me, that your vision not be blurred by what is passing away. When you keep your gaze on the source, everything else falls into its proper place. Fear shrinks, doubt diminishes, and you realize your path is one of meaning, even when it twists and brims with trial. Let my messengers surround you. Angels are not merely distant images, but real guardians I send to escort, strengthen, and shelter you when your steps tremble. They gather around you like soldiers of faith, shielding your journey from the cracks the enemy seeks to exploit. Do not dismiss their presence. When you are uncertain, they remind you. When weary, they lift you. When astray, they gently stir you back. Above all, I give you the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, the Guide, the Renewer, so that He dwells in your breath, fills the depths of your heart. Do not think of Him as mere form or name, for He is the warmth that brightens cold valleys, the light when you cannot see a way out, the strength that turns weakness into might. When the Spirit works within you, you will taste an inner vitality that words cannot fully describe. It is the assurance that even if circumstances change, people betray, or pain lingers, there is a power within you that will not be overcome. Let your life flow into the great story. I am writing a narrative not ending in loneliness, but streaming through generations like a song of redemption. Each of your steps is a sentence, each faithful choice a melody, and as you live united with me, your life becomes a chapter that cannot be erased in the book of salvation. Do not consider hard days meaningless. They are part of the script where I refine your character, cleanse away falsehood, and create what is new. The shifts I have enacted through history, from calling one among the nations to speaking through prophets, to giving my Son to the world, echo even today. They are not old tales for passing emotion, but testimonies that I always intervene, always transform, always fulfill my word. When you see yourself as part of that unfolding, you understand that your life is not drifting without meaning. Rather, within every sorrow is the seed of a new garden, within every loss, a doorway for grace to pass through. Believe that I do not renew by destroying without cause. I have purpose in every restoration. When I let something pass away, it is to make room for what is better in my will, what aligns with the nature of love, justice, and life. As artisans remove layers of moss from a statue to reveal the beauty already carved within, so I cleanse the worn dust of your soul to honor the true nature I created. And you are invited to collaborate. Do not avoid the moments where letting go is required. Do not fear loss for losing the false, open space for me to give what is true. Each time you allow my work of renewal, you join in a transformation not only for yourself but for all whom you touch. Your life may become a vessel leading others back to hope, and in that very restoration, my name is glorified. Let my promise be imprinted in every cell. I will not abandon you. I will not retreat. I will not leave unfinished the work I began in you. What I start, I complete in goodness. That is the principle of faithfulness. Therefore, when you feel alone in the night, remember that I am moving in the background. When you hear mockery for your courageous steps, know that I stand beside you. When loss feels like mourning, I will be the one who comforts and binds each wound. Do not rush to conclusions before you see the full picture, for I see the whole horizon your eyes cannot reach. Be patient in surrendering yourself to that work, and I will accomplish the rest with wisdom and boundless love. Recognize the comfort I give. It is not the false comfort that lulls you to sleep, but a strength that helps you rise. When sorrow comes, I do not wish you to sink into hopeless lament. I wish you to be comforted so you can look forward knowing there is a hand that upholds, a gentle voice that calls you out of the mire. By this comfort you may walk through grief and yet retain hope. By it you may turn wounds into the foundation of compassion for others. Your life is not destroyed but reshaped to sing songs of healing for those who have fallen. Open your heart to receive the messages of angels and of the Spirit through the signs of daily life. A word of encouragement at the right time, an unexpected gesture of help, a sincere counsel from a brother or sister, all are instruments I use to deliver grace. Do not judge these means by appearances, but look with a heart trained by the word. If the message draws you closer to me, if it awakens sacrifice and love, receive it. If it leads you into pride or false safety, be cautious. Wisdom comes through practice. You listen, you test through prayer, you invite the Spirit's illumination, and gradually your ability to discern my footprints on the sands of life will sharpen. Let your life be a story told to future generations, not because you seek praise, but because your faithfulness is living testimony of my word. People will look at you not to find fault, but to see the difference of a soul renewed. They will see peace amid chaos, gentleness in the storm, courage in circumstances where many would give up. That is the witness I desire, not loud or ostentatious, but deep and enduring. When you let your life be used in this way, I rejoice, and I use you as a bridge between my heart and the world. And as all things are renewed, as I make all creation new through redemption, your song will merge into the greater symphony, not a song of mere loss, but of resurrection, where each sorrowful note is transformed into the melody of hope. Do not delay to join that music. Begin with small steps in daily life, an act of forgiveness, a hidden service, a decision to place the word above feelings. From such simple acts, the web of renewal spreads. Lives are touched, families healed, and the next generation will know a different way than what the world proclaims. Therefore, walk hand in hand with me, eyes fixed on the source, letting the angelic hosts and the fullness of the Spirit escort each breath. Let your life be woven of faithful choices, so it becomes part of the great hymn of renewal I am composing across creation. You will not stand alone on this new ground. I am with you. I am working in you and through you. Trust, surrender, and rejoice in being chosen to collaborate with me in making all things new. Let me tell you that every pain, every loss, every joy you have experienced does not end there. They are the material for a new form being shaped in you. At times you may feel like a potter before damp clay. I do not wish to destroy you, but to reshape you. The dents, the cracks, the scars on your surface will become unique patterns, proof of the healing journey I perform. Do not evade that awareness. Do not avoid the truth that you may have been broken. Instead, bring each fragment to me. Give them to me so I may bind them, renew them with the glue of grace, and from there, a stronger, deeper version will emerge. You were not made to be perfect at once. You were made to be formed through experience, through testing, through moments requiring courage to say yes when all seems to whisper no. Your darkest days may become the very moments I use to rewrite the story, but you must consent to let me. Perhaps you are not ready. Perhaps you still clutch your wound as though it were treasure. I ask only one thing: let your hand open a little, just a small gap for me to touch. A gap wide enough for light to enter, for the warmth of love to flow in. When I begin, I will not leave you abandoned. I will guide each step, mend each joint, restore each gap. My work is never rushed, but always sure, with the precision of an artisan and the tenderness of a father. When the time comes that you look back, you will see that the scar is no longer merely pain. It is the mark of victory, the testimony that I have touched and transformed. You may fear that what I say sounds easier than it is to live, and you are right. Words are simple, but living them is harder. That is why I do not ask you to work miracles. I only invite you into a series of ordinary but steady acts, rising early to listen, confiding in me, the secrets you hide, inscribing a line of truth into your heart each day, speaking to a trusted brother about what you fear. These repeated actions are like salt scattered on the soil, nourishing a ground where truth can sprout and take deep root. Do not judge results too quickly. Holy work often takes time to penetrate silently before bursting forth in strength. See your life as a garden to tend you cannot water once and expect fruit. It requires steady care, patience, and a calm trust that the harvest will come. I know you will ask, how will I know your voice among the many sounds? You have learned this already, but let me remind you in a way you can hold. My voice never forces you through fear, never drives you to act against conscience. My voice comforts without making you foolish. It stirs you to do good without obligation. It soothes, yet also urges you to serve. The deceiver's voice often leaves you restless, hurried, seeking shortcuts. My voice gives peace in decision even when you know it will cost you. When you face a choice, let your heart speak first, then test with your reason. If your heart answers with a sense of safety grounded in the word that is my trace. Of course, you are not left with mere feelings. I give the Spirit to enlighten your mind to help you distinguish fleeting emotion from the deeper call. Invite the Spirit into every thought, granting him the right to challenge false beliefs, so you may replace illusions with truth. Remember, you are not called to withdraw from life, but to enter more deeply into the world with a different quality. You step into it as one who carries light, not as one scattered by noise. When you learn to keep the word at the center, every relationship, every task, every responsibility will be lit by a new standard. You will not judge others by appearance alone. You will see them through the eyes of grace, knowing they too are fighting their own invisible chains. In this way, your compassion becomes not mere feeling but a deliberate action. You forgive, you uphold, you are patient, and you stay when others walk away. That action is truth becoming a living mirror, so those still wandering may see the way home. I also want to teach you holy humility. Do not think you understand everything because of a few successful experiences, nor believe you are hopeless because of past failures. When you are humble, you can receive correction, you can apologize, you can change. When you cling to pride, you grow rigid, enduring lies without recognizing them. Humility keeps your measure true, acknowledging strength, not hiding weakness, and welcoming me into every place that needs mending. That is the spirit of a mature heart, not chasing display, not depending on outward appearances, but cultivating a life honest before me and others. I will not forget to remind you of the value of community. You may wish to do everything alone, believing you will be less hurt if you bear it yourself, but you were not made to live in isolation. A community shares burdens, intercedes in prayer, weeps and rejoices together. When you let brothers and sisters enter your life, you allow healing to multiply, an honest gaze, a wise word, a hand lifting you when you are near collapse. Do not fear being hurt before others. Fear instead the hiddenness that pride and shame create. Healing comes through connection, through the joining of hearts committed to walk toward truth together. Moreover, I want you to remember the art of waiting. Many great transformations in life are born of patience. When you are in haste, you easily accept temporary solutions. When you wait, you learn discernment. You allow all things to be tested and proven. Waiting is not passivity. Waiting is a steadfastly active attitude. You continue to work, to pray, to hope, yet you do not force events to unfold according to your will. That difference is where true faith is sharpened, to know how to wait in trust, not in resignation. You will face moments when no words can console you, except silence and bending your knees. It is in those very moments that I draw nearer. Do not fear silence. Silence can be the healing chamber where you hear more clearly, see more clearly, and recognize the way you must walk. Learn to love that silence, for many of the answers I give do not thunder forth. They come like quiet footsteps, like a slow dawning of understanding. To live with silence is not to endure loneliness, but to learn how the Spirit speaks, how the word pierces deeply. Finally, I set before you a command that is not too heavy but filled with power. Live as one who has been set free. This means that each day you awaken and choose freedom instead of slavery to bitter memories. Choose love instead of suspicion. Choose service instead of grasping. That freedom is not a fleeting sense of elation, but a stable inner state, a way of life that when others look upon you, they see safety, hope, and a mended heart in motion. When you live this way, your life will tell a story many long, for the story of one who has walked through trials, who was once broken but restored, and who now proclaims by their very existence that there is a grace vast enough to heal. Let these words sink into every fiber of your being. I do not cease renewing. I do not forget you. I guide each step. And you respond with a life that not only listens to my word, but becomes living proof of it through action, through patience, through humility, and through love that does not retreat. When you do this, not only will you be healed, but many others will be touched by the light through you. So walk forward with your hand in mine, that the new season I am beginning may not remain only a promise, but become a living reality within your heart and through you to the world. Now lift up to me your prayer with your whole heart. Speak to me and I will listen. Almighty God, I come before your throne with humility and with longings I have never voiced, asking you to hear the whisper of my soul as I lay every burden down before your gaze. Loosen every unseen cord that chokes my breath. Heal every layer of wound that is hardened into doubt, and pour into me a new courage to stand firm when everything around me seems to collapse. Open my eyes to distinguish between false glitter and true light. Attune my ears to recognize the voice of the Spirit amid the noise, and grant me wisdom not to trade my identity for fleeting praise or criticism. Teach me to let go of guilt that does not belong to me, to embrace the forgiveness you give, and to use the dark days behind me as wells of compassion to lift others. Lead every step of mine in this season of restoration, reminding me that when I put faith before fear, you will turn each small step into a safeguarded journey. Lord Jesus, Good Shepherd, I place into your hands all my anxieties about the future, every unspoken worry, and every yet unformed desire. Grant me a courageous heart to speak truth into silence, to confess the word even when no one hears, and to walk forward, though the path is not yet clear. Keep me from bowing in comparison with others, reminding me that my worth is measured by your love, not by human judgment. Let my prayer be no longer empty formulas, but the breath of sincerity between you and me. Turn my weakness into the place where you reveal your power, showing me that each time I acknowledge my helplessness, you speak with strength enough to lift me. Teach me to bear witness by life rather than rhetoric, that every action may reflect your love for the lost. And when I stray, let your Spirit gently guide me back, that I may entrust myself without fear. Merciful Father, I come to you as I truly am, tired, weak, yet still hoping. Take from me the fears I have carried too long, strip away the lies that have become invisible chains. Plant within me a gentle but resilient strength, that I may not chase after hollow glimmers but cling to your unchanging word. When shadows whisper that I am worthless, remind me that my worth is measured by the cross. When criticism seeks to break my faith, let me hear you call me by my true name. My child, chosen, loved, and kept, I offer to you both present and future. Make them a dwelling of radiant grace. Lord Jesus, who died and rose again to give me life, I surrender to you the weariness of the journey. Grant me eyes to see through the facade of false blessings, to recognize that true blessing lies only in you. When I am tempted to chase fleeting success, draw me back onto the narrow road that leads to life. When I am restless because results do not appear at once, teach me to believe that seeds sown are still sprouting unseen beneath the soil. Grant me patience, unyielding faith, and the grace to keep my lamp burning, even in the storms. Let your presence be the one strength I need. O God of truth, I beg you to give me discernment to test every word I hear. Do not let me fall for lies dressed in beauty. When voices around me urge compromise, teach me to say no. Even when loved ones speak words that unsettle me, give me strength to measure all things by Scripture. Train me in spiritual discipline, sharpening my mind to distinguish true light from counterfeit darkness. Place within me a hunger to love your word more than worldly pleasures, so my soul never lacks nourishment. Beloved Father, I pray for the grace to forgive. For I know if I hold on to bitterness, it becomes a pathway for the enemy to plant lies. Help me release wounds not because others deserve it, but because I desire freedom. Teach me to forgive myself, that I may not carry old sins like a burden upon my back. Transform my scars into testimonies of mercy, so I may no longer hide in shame but give thanks for healing. Grant me a gentle heart that I may become one who consoles rather than repeats cycles of hurt. Lord of all seasons, I pray, you teach me to wait in faith. When results do not come, keep me from despair. When doors close, help me believe you are preparing another way. When prayers seem unanswered, let me perceive that even your silence holds purpose. Grant me perseverance that I may not hasten to easy but false solutions. Teach me to find meaning in every season of stillness, trusting that there my roots of faith are deepening. May I not live by the urgency of the world, but by the rhythm of your heart. O steadfast God, I cry to you with all my heart. Enlighten the eyes of my spirit that I may recognize what you are doing despite chaos. Grant me patience to keep hope when storms remain and peace when winds try to snuff out the flame of faith. Send me a community of honest brothers and sisters to share burdens, to discern together, to intercede for one another. Teach me when to say no, when to let go, when to wait. Erase every thought that makes me doubt your love. And engrave deep within me that every promise you make is true and lays a firm foundation. Transform every disappointment into a stepping stone, every crisis into a lesson, every tear into a garden of praise. Gracious Lord, when I feel small and powerless, pour into me a quiet strength to endure trials without striving alone. Teach me to ask for help when needed, to share when weighed down, and to forgive myself when I stumble. Untangle old bonds, break rigid molds that limit me, so I may live true to the identity you gave me. Help me discern between what is worth pursuing and what is only empty imitation, so I may not foolishly cling to illusions and miss true blessing. Calm every anger. Heal every bitterness and grant me a tender heart with hands ready to serve the suffering. Help me see hard years as master craftsman, shaping me into a finer instrument for your work. God of peace, I offer you the scattered thoughts within me. Sift them and bring order through your word. Teach me the art of stillness amid noise, that I may hear your voice above the clamor of the world. Guard my life from being ruled by fleeting emotions, but anchor it in eternal truth. Give me ears that listen, eyes that discern the Spirit's signs, and lips that proclaim your word even when shaken. Teach me discernment in every relationship. Let my life of authenticity lead others to you, and grant me humility to accept counsel when needed. Cause me to walk in freedom, no longer bound by empty prejudices, but living as a witness of your forgiving and restoring power. Eternal Father, I bring before you my desires overflowing, yet sometimes tangled with fear. Teach me to pray not only for my own needs, but to align with your will, that my heart's desire may coincide with yours. Show me how to wait actively, to labor carefully, to hope steadfastly. Plant in me a vision greater than myself, that I may not only seek my own good, but the good of many. Grant me opportunities to use your gifts for others and courage to accept my calling even when it demands sacrifice. Teach me to live in balance between work and stillness, between action and listening, that my life may reflect the rhythm of yours. Alpha and Omega, I place every anxiety about the future into your hands, not because I know all will turn out my way, but because I trust you are guiding each step. Give me steady feet to enter new seasons, eyes of faith when I cannot see, and a surrendered heart when all seems uncertain. Pour blessing into old wounds, let them become strength to serve others, and remind me that nothing in my life is wasted when placed in your hands. Teach me to live with patience, humility, and a quiet joy, knowing every step I take, however small, is guided and used by you for a greater purpose. God of every good thing, I thank you, because never once have you abandoned me in the storm. because in my loneliest hours you have secretly upheld me, because you have turned mourning into dancing, granted calm mornings after long nights, and bestowed quiet graces sufficient to keep me moving. Accept this humble thanksgiving as the language of my soul and teach me to use your blessings to bless others, not to hoard for myself. I thank you for brothers and sisters placed by my side, for hands that lifted me, for words that encouraged me to keep faith. I thank you for your word unshaken amid change, and for the Spirit who continually reminds me of your faithfulness. Fill my heart with gratitude that every word and deed may become a worthy offering before your throne. Merciful God, I thank you for every discipline that has made me stronger, for through trial I have learned discernment and gained steadiness, for the times you stripped me of illusions and brought me to truth, for the tender healing of scars that revealed the greatness of grace, for the moments I thought I was lost but found instead a new path of hope. I praise you for the times you used ordinary people to bring miracles, for hearts willing to support, for communities where I learned real love. May my heart be ever thankful in all circumstances, for gratitude is the voice of faith meeting grace. Living Father, I give thanks for the little blessings I often forget: a warm meal, a peaceful sleep, a friend's smile, timely counsel, all marks of your care. I thank you for seeds of hope sprouting in my heart each time I trust, for moments of silence when I hear you, and for the endurance you grant when I am weak. I thank you even for failures, for through them I learn humility and authenticity. Let my heart always recognize the blessings of daily life, so that thanksgiving rises not only for the great, but also for the simple. Alpha and Omega, I praise you for the future. You hold for me, knowing that all you do leads to life and hope. I thank you for your word that sustains me, for the light that guides me through the night, and for love that outlasts every circumstance. I am grateful to be invited into the work you are doing, and I thank you for weaving even the fragments of my life into a hymn of praise. Accept this thanksgiving and turn it into strength to live worthy of the calling and mission you have entrusted. Almighty God, I thank you that the battles I have endured were never in vain. I am grateful that every trial carries a seed of maturity. I thank you that in my darkest days, you never turned your gaze away, and every tear was remembered. I thank you that when you let me stumble, you lifted me up again, teaching me humility and total dependence on you. I am grateful for grace that never ceases to flow, even when I am unworthy. Receive this thanksgiving as a small song from my heart, though it cannot match your immense love. Compassionate Lord, I thank you for quiet yet tangible blessings, for every morning breath, for strength to walk, for small unexpected smiles, for true friends, for a warm home. I thank you for inner peace, not born of circumstance but of your presence. I thank you that even when I thought you were silent, you were working unseen to arrange my future. I thank you for fresh hope each day, though my life is not perfect. May this thanksgiving become the constant breath of my soul, not only in joy but also in tears. Lord, beginning and end, I bow in gratitude that you hold my whole life in your hands. I thank you that the past does not define me but is used by you to teach and lift me. I thank you that no moment is wasted, that every tear and every smile is used to draw me nearer. I thank you that my future is secured in you, not by my success, but by your unchanging faithfulness. I offer this thanksgiving knowing that as long as my lips utter praise, my soul will be renewed and others will see your glory through my life. I pray all this in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to subscribe and enable notifications so that together we may build a strong community of faith.